So this is part 2 from last week's share. Teva, what it is and how to beat it. Or I've written here, Teva, what is and how to beat it. I missed out on it. Okay, part 2. So if you remember last week, we'd said that logically, there is no difference whatsoever between Teva and something that isn't Teva. Except it's just a frequency. So something happens all the time, and we consider that to be Teva. If we see it as a one-off, we get very excited. That was the definition of, or the description of a miracle, something which happens once in a blue moon, or something from which we've got no scientific or rational explanation. We never have a scientific or rational explanation for a one-off. Fine. But clearly there is a distinction between the two, and the distinction is how we see it. It's a psychological thing, not a logical thing. So I want you to imagine, I usually give this example when I'm saying this share in a bigger, or this bit of the share, in a bigger island, because really it's a new share. But anyway, the kids are, you know, of course, the word for this world is olam. And olam, the root, if we knock out the vav to get the root, is ayin lamed mem, which means hide or hidden. So I think I told you once about the McDonald's angel. No? Does that ring a bell?
No.
A Jew, a traditional Jew who knows, the basics of Yiddishkeit, is tempted to go into McDonald's because he's heard about a Big Mac, which I think is a cheeseburger. Nobody knows either. Nobody's going, yeah, I know. It's no. Okay, nobody. We don't know.
Feigning ignorance.
Feigning ignorance.
That's what McDonald's means.
Yeah. So what do they do about Big Mac if it's a cheeseburger? Part cheeseburger. Anyways, the kid, he goes in and he gets it.
It's not wheat and the cheese is not cheese in Israel.
Yeah, I suppose so. So he gets his Big Mac and he sits down at the table, and he's about to bite into the Big Mac, when suddenly, as he puts it to his lips, boop, standing in front of him is a great big white shimmering malach. And the angel says to him, Cohen. The angel says, Kosher? The angel takes the Big Mac, throws it on the floor, picks up Cohen, slaps him across the face. Don't do that again, Cohen. Boop, and disappears. Now I want you to imagine you were Cohen. Would you buy a second Big Mac?
After a while. I can't imagine.
No, I'm sorry. This is the wrong answer. All Jews want a second opinion. I think you'd be saying to yourself, I imagined the whole thing. I'm not sleeping enough. I've been drinking too much single malt whiskey, etc., etc. So your cheek is smarting, and your Big Mac is on the floor, but nobody else has seen this. It can't possibly be true. So you go and buy another Big Mac. You sit down. You take a sip of the Coke. You take your Big Mac. You put it to your lips. You hesitate for a split second, and then you laugh at your own stupidity. Clear your imagination. You open your mouth and suddenly, boop. Are you deaf, Cohen? The angel takes the Big Mac and turns it into perurim, into crumbs. Picks up Cohen, punches him on the nose. Don't do that again, Cohen. Boop, and disappears. Would you buy a third Big Mac? No. Okay. So, in order for us to have Bechira, there is no such thing as a McDonald's angel. If you want to pull the trigger of a gun and shoot somebody, your finger doesn't freeze. You want to speak Lashon Hara, but somebody, your tongue doesn't stick to your palate. You can do it. The Rebbeinu Shem has to create a system in the world where he isn't apparent unless you look to see him. But if you look to see him, then clearly he will show himself. Okay, fine. So there is a difference in psychology, but not in logic. Psychologically, yes. Logically, no. Good. Let's take this in a slightly different direction. Sefer Das Chacham Musa, which incidentally, I should tell you, this only arrived. The basis of the shir was meant to be this tonight. However, I left it in my attaché case in the seminary where I was teaching in Brooklyn this morning. Somebody, Sweet very kindly brought it back. I got here about 20 minutes ago. So I've not been able to do what I wanted to do with it. But anyway, sof goes sof. Towards the beginning of Das Kochen Musa Maimar Ches, he says the following thing: the Kamoy Shinago Hateva hi alpi klauze. We've just described how Teva works, but there's also something lamala min Teva, who gam kein al derech, but it works the same way. Mashi yesh lahem o mashi yasigum b'hanagos nasa etzlam Teva. Anything that you reach, what we would call lamala min Teva, becomes for you Teva. That becomes Teva. There is no distinction between Teva and lamala min Teva, between nes and miracle, just as we perceive it. But it's the frequency and the regularity of it then that makes it normal. So if you change your teva, if you change your nature, and remember the name of the shir is how to beat it, you're talking about you as a person. If you change your nature, then that becomes the madrega that you're on, that other people would consider to be l'malam min teva. So he says. So, Moshe Rabbeinu level shalom. With regards to Moshe Rabbeinu, it says the following thing: "B'tchilas ha'ya Moshe lomad Torah u'mishkocha." When Moshe Rabbeinu was up in Har Sinai for 40 days, 40 nights, and Hashem is, as it were, trying to teach him the Kol HaTorah Kula, then he forgot. It just went good. Ad shenisna lo b'matona, until Hashem gave it to him as a gift. Hamakabam is that. What that means is your teva is what Hashem gave to you as a gift. So Gemara famously says, "Chatul, a cat, we could learn sneers from the cat, right? Because a cat never procreates in public. Dogs do, right? Cats are sneers. It's in their nature. It's in their teva. Ants, we could learn industry from ants. That's their teva. The teva that we have, when Moshe Rabbeinu is given as a matona the Torah, that is his teva. That's his nature. Now the teva is what every one of us got. That's our nature, our basic character traits, which we'll talk about in weeks to come, again based in Rabbi Yerucham, and how you have to shimer and guard carefully your teva, your nature. Your nature is your mahalach, your sulam to go higher. If the Torah was given to Moshe b'matona, then that becomes his teva. And to read on a little bit further, he says the following thing. Chazal said there are many, many distinctions between Klal Yisrael and the Masayim. Why? Because the Torah was given to us as a matona. And therefore, that nature is part of us, not part of the Umas Ha'olam, and therefore you would expect to see distinct differences between the two. Avram Avinu, his nature was chesed to an incredible degree, but it was matana. It was given to him as his nature. And then when it becomes your nature, then there's nothing miraculous about it, although the world would see that a man who was so upset 3 days after Bris Milah, he's standing out in an incredibly hot day, but still he's more in pain that he can't do chesed, he can't do, and that's real chesed, not for him, for other people, chesed l'shmo. People say, well, that's not natural. That's just not natural. It's natural for him. So what is natural and what's supernatural is simply a matter, as he says here, of madrega. That's a question of madrega. Okay. Now, in Mikta Mariyohu, in Chelik Aleph on page 197, Rabbi Desta says something which is very interesting indeed. Sorry? No,
It's just
Teva and Malam in Teva is the same thing.
It's just your perception.
It's just as we see it.
I thought that something that comes natural to you is nature, and something that you fight to overcome is
Yeah, you're right.
supernatural.
But as we said last night, nature, natural, scientifically rational, psychologically rational, and psychologically supernatural. There's no distinction except a frequency. So if it becomes if you achieve, and remember, Avram achieves this.
Right, but that didn't necessarily come natural to him. He had to fight
That's
to
right.
overcome.
That's right. Hashem gave it to him as his nature. But then it was everybody by you and I. That would be. I just can't believe it. And of course, the fact he would his perception in fighting for Saddam and all that sort of stuff. Are you kidding? Why would you do such a thing?
I was saying each of his tests, until he accomplished the test, it wasn't natural to him, or else it wouldn't be a test. So it's a test because it's not natural to you. Then you
Right. That's
overcome
why
it.
his tests were all against Chesed.
Well, but he's like slaughtering his own son.
Right, which goes against Chesed now. So he had to, because this is, so the Yerushalmi says that there are two, well, the Yerushalmi says there are two ways you have to serve Hashem, Yira and Mehava. We talked about this last week. If you do it from Ahava, then the problem is what if you find something you love as much? Like your son. Then you won't be able to do it. Then you have to go with Yira. Why not just have Yira? Because if somebody puts a gun to your head, you'll do what you're supposed to do, but you don't want to do it. So you had to have a synthesis of both. So all the tests of Avram Avinu were tests of Yiras Hashem, not Havas Hashem. He'd already got that as his nature, which is what we were saying before. So he had to achieve something else here. But just look at that nature. If you saw somebody who was such a Balchas to such a degree, he's crazy. He's just a brief meal. He's sitting outside. He's upset about that. I'd be upset about my pain, not him. But let me read on a little bit further here because we've got quite a lot in. So he says, similarly with Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa, Gemara in Tanis Kaf Hafim, it says, Shalohoy loy shemen be'erev Shabbos. You know the famous story that there was no. His daughter lit the cruise of little oil candles. It was full of vinegar. What did he say? He said, Misha Omal Shemen Yidlok Omal Chamash Yidlok. Don't worry about it. The person said, because instead of being full of oil, it was full of vinegar. The person said that the oil would burn. We'll say to the vinegar it would burn. And of course, miracles happened for him all the time. He's seen behind nature. He sees no distinction. He's in a madriga. For him, Teva and Lamalam, and Teva is the exact same thing. But remember, Teva is there, as we explained before, to give you Bechira. Hashem hides. So there's a balance of 50-50. There's much reason for believing in Hashem and for not believing in Hashem. Right? It has to be 50-50, otherwise you want Bechira. But if it's the case that Hashem is there and he sees that you're looking to find him, would it make sense for him to maintain the balance of 50-50? Well, no, he would let you know you were on the right track. He would change it from 50-50 to 51-49 or 55-45. But some people will keep pushing and pushing and looking until they get to the stage where it's 100%, and therefore Hashem can let miracles happen to people on the highest madriga without robbing them of their Bechira, because they've already robbed themselves of the Bechira. Here's the Chiddush. The Chiddush of Bechira is to lose it. Because Bechira means a suffix, maybe yes, maybe no. I can choose. That's a lie, you can't choose. Ultimately, to assume that you can choose is to assume there are two sides to the coin. There's only one side to the coin. It's just that you don't see that. When you do see it, then miracles can happen. Hashem can make miracles happen for you. So he says something very interesting.
So why could I go to the Chavah Yitzhak in Mena?
Go on.
If he doesn't have a Bechira because he has only 20%, so why is he Zionist in insurance?
So what does it mean? Oh, so I think we may have mentioned this before. It does not mean Kol Agod Mechaber Yitzhak Gadol Himenu. It doesn't mean to say that a Bach is walking along the street and he sees this stun, sees a beautiful girl on the other side of the road. He's going to go over and sort of like, oh wow. But then he remembers because he's one of my Talmidim. No, and he walks the other way. Fine. Whereas if the Chavetz Chaim saw, he would dash over, Kol Agod Mechaber. Would you like to go for a coffee? Rahman Islam. What it means, it's far more subtle the way the Yetzer Hara has to deal with you. Nobody was in the greater Madriga than Adam Rishon. Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't in the greater Madriga than Adam Rishon. Afal Beke. The Yetzer Hara has to up his game. The Satan has to up his game to match him at that Madriga. You never lose Bechira. You never lose Bechira. What happens? I don't want to go too much off at a tangent. What happens when the Mashiach comes? So the Ramban says, the Chavetz Chaim, I think I once mentioned to you, that there was only one time Ramat pointed out to me. There's only one time the Chavetz Chaim instructed the printer to underline any words in any of his Sforim. And it's called Tzipis al Yeshua. It's his little kuntras on the time of the Mashiach. And that's what it says. When the Mashiach comes, Bechira stops. That's right, exactly. Now, Rabbi Desta says, what does that mean? Because then there's no point to the world, because Eila Todah Shema Boris, Behi Barom, it's a little hay, and the hay is symbolic of Bechira, etc. The whole purpose. Or to put it another way about, if we get to the Madriga of Adam Rishon as we did at Har Sinai, and Kabul Torah, if we got to that Madriga, and that's where we're going to get to again when Mashiach comes, but we blew it again, didn't we? So we got to the Madriga of Adam Rishon, we would live forever. That's what happened to Har Sinai. And then, eagles off. And down we go. So we're going to get to that Madriga again. Aren't we worried it's going to happen again? So Rabbi Desta says what it means, also you quoted, Jenim Chayfetz, means that you can't go down. We'll reach the 49th level of Kedusha, which Adam Rishon was on. His Bechira is to get to the 50th. We will have that guarantee. You will be underwritten that you can't go down. But whether you're going to go up, that's up to you. So there's always Bechira, which is an interesting thought. But listen to this. So he gives a couple of examples, quickly looking at the clock here. He says, whenever Nisim happened to tzaddikim, open miracles happened to tzaddikim, there was always woven into the fabric of the nes an ability to dismiss it as a natural event. So he gives several examples here. There's a story of Elisha and the woman whose child had died. It's Malachim based on it. Shahilo Yeled Benes. So there was the Yeled. So what happened? There's a child who died, and she comes and begs him, and he comes in and he lies on top of the child, Puts his lips to the child's lips, hands to the and eyes to the child's eyes, jumps up, and the child goes, "Oh, where's my cornflakes?" Goes back to life. Now, as we know, the minhag, the halacha is that certainly it's not minhag, but actually is minhag. The halacha is that we bury somebody the same day. But in all societies in warm climates, they bury somebody the same day for a very simple reason. Because decomposition of a corpse starts immediately in very hot climates. So you've got to bury them straight away. Otherwise it'll be also a terrible disease. So when it says the child is dead, the child is dead. There's no sophic about that. You don't have to feel for a pulse, right? You know, in the Middle East, if somebody dies, because we all get air conditioning these days, but certainly, you know, when you're living in tents or little mud huts sort of thing, then you know somebody's dead straight away. So the child is certainly dead. So he's going to do a miracle. Obviously, it's a miracle. So what's this business of lying on top of the child? What does it sound like when he puts his lips to the child's lips?
CPR.
Yeah, CPR. Right? Mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, as it's called in England. I don't know what we call it here. And so he's breathing into the lungs to get the lungs started again. Right. Or the example of Moshe Rabbeinu at the end of his life, he wants to see Eretz Yisrael. And Hashem says, okay, go to the top of Har Navai, and which is in the southeast of Eretz Yisrael, and look, see over there, that's Tel Aviv. And that's, see Haifa's just over there. And look at the Galil, and look at the kibbutzim, and all this stuff. Now, what's wrong with that? Yeah, you can see. Eretz Yisrael is not the biggest country by any stretch of the imagination. It's a tiny country. Afal Pekin, when you're in the southeast, you can't see the north of Israel. That's just absolute nonsense. How did you see him? It's a miracle. So why do you need to go up to the Har Navai? Noach and his family were saved in Teva. Aha. Really? As they say, do me a favor. Right, a rectangular box, which is what it was, no hull with, ballast to pull it down, so shackles. And anyway, it's a huge storm and all that sort of stuff. It's as seaworthy as a brick. And yet, it saved them. So as he says here, so what's the purpose of this? It's not going to do anything. So why not just save them in a much smaller boat? Why is this?
The appearance of the
Sorry? Go on.
The appearance of it.
Right, so if a person wants to dismiss the miracle, a person can dismiss the miracle. You could say, oh, it was mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. You could say it was the Teva that saved them. Yaakov Avinu, I always love this one. Yaakov Avinu, he takes the rocks and he puts the rocks around his head. Right, remember that bit? So he says, why are the rocks around his head?
They were fighting.
That's in the morning, to save him from wild animals, right? This is Givaldic. You're scared of wild animals, so you make it something like, a little stockade around your head, so animals can't eat you. But you wake up in the morning, you look down, and your legs are gone. I mean, it's like Givaldic. I saved myself from wild animals. Yeah, what about the rest of you? So in all these cases, a miracle is going to happen, but first of all, in order so they shouldn't become nizgoy, they shouldn't become something like, oh, Hashem does miracles for me, they hid it. But second of all, in the case of Noach, etc., Hashem wants to create a possibility of a person to say, yeah, it was a natural. Yeah, how did Noach save the Teva? How was the child? Plausible deniability. Very, very good.
These are open easy. This is not Teva.
Sorry?
It's not Teva. This is
What?
an ace.
What is an ace? Yes, of course they're all ace. Yeah.
This is an ace.
Ooh.
It's not a nature.
Right, but again, what's the difference? No difference except whether you're going to look and see. So in order to promote Bechira, then there has to be some possibility for a person to look away. Think of an exception to the rule. So here is the Rambam in Perik Shmini of Yisrael Torah, and he says, Moshe Rabbeinu Elohim b'Yisrael mabinei ha'isa she'asa. Moshe Rabbeinu, the Jewish people, did not believe because of the miracles that he did. Because if you believed in the miracle, Moshe Rabbeinu, because of the miracles, then you're a fool. Or have foolishness in your heart. Be a nicer way to translate it. Because it's conceivable and possible that he did these miracles using kishuf. After all, for the first few miracles, the Egyptian magicians were able to replicate the miracles. And we know, of course, after the first couple, then they couldn't carry on, and Moshe Rabbeinu was better. But that doesn't prove anything. We could simply assume that he was better at their stuff than they were.
Why did they say at Spellikin?
Sorry?
Why did they just say... Well,
That's when they couldn't do any more, they said that.
So why did they just say he's a better magician? Why did they say at Spellikin?
That's a very good question. The answer is they were willing to see the truth. But Paro wasn't. Again, but the reason that Paro wasn't, there is built into it an ability to get out. There's a get out of jail card.
So Rashi is saying that Ena Kishu Sholet Tochas become
Yeah, yeah.
Could be a magic. Because the magic can be like on a small scale.
That's what you're right. Rashi says that. However, why can't I just say that that's right? Normal magic can't do that.
But
It says that he was much better at their magic than they were.
Okay.
After all, he's Jewish.
Chris Sam said there's no explanation.
Oh, oh, really? Oh, there is an explanation. Oh, yes, there is. Oh, did you not know that? Oh, yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Some very strong winds.
What? The strong winds? Yeah. I mean, people believe this. Absolutely. Okay. But let's read on. He says what he says a bit further. You should know that every miracle that Moshe Rabbeinu did in the Midbar was because it was out of necessity. He needed to change Teva as a requirement for Klal Yisrael, not to prove he was a Navi. Not to bring proof to his prophecy. As a Mitzrayim, he had to drown the Egyptians, get an army chasing. It wasn't say, hey, look, I'm a Navi, what I can do. No. We need to get rid of an army. Glug, Yiskadash. Karas again, but Sealam Boy. Srach and Muslim, they needed food, brings them on, hurries them on. Tsomo, no water, Bokalahem is Evan, Kofra, Adas Karach, the rebellion against Karach, and Bolam Isama Oris, then they swallowed up. Became Sharkolo Isis. Now, Uba Mahamina. So when did they believe in him? But Mamad Har Sinai, Shainin Rav, Lazar, Vazin Shama, Acher, Haisha, Kalas, Alapidim, Venogish, Alrafel, Akam, Medaber, Love, Onashami, Moshe, Lacha, Omalahem, Kaflikach. So we discussed this about a year ago. So why isn't that also Kishuf? Why is that the clincher? Look, I mean, he's up to the darkness, he's up to the top of the mountain, right? If I'm licensed according to the Rambam to be so cynical and so skeptical as to assume that all that was Kishuv, right? Koikas Atuma and all sorts of stuff. Well, I can assume this as well after I can't see him. I hear a voice saying, Moshe. Just walk over a couple of yards. Yes, Hashem. Tell them adultery's out. Okay, Hashem. Right, why can't that also be it? So it says they saw the Kodesh. How do you see a sound?
Vibration.
And now you see a vibration, then you see something moving. How do you see a sound? Leaving aside an oscilloscope. So, how a Novi perceives is not in the normal physical way.
Experiencing it.
That's right. Experience it totally differently. So you can see a sound and you can hear a sight. It's totally different. Now that's how Nevi'im do it. So therefore, how does this prove anything? Why is this the clincher? And it's the clincher because, and remember we talked about this a year ago. I said, who is the greatest heart surgeon in America? Now, to find the answer, you're not allowed to use the word Wikipedia or Google. In fact, let's just banish the internet altogether. How would you find out who's the biggest? Does anybody know who's the most famous heart surgeon in America? I believe somebody called Rifkin, who's a cousin of L.A. Weiss, but never mind. We've never met. Tragedy for him, but never mind. Leaving that aside. But if you wanted to find out who was the greatest heart surgeon, who was the greatest brain surgeon, who was the greatest physicist, who was the greatest biologist, whatever you like, how would you find out? The internet's out.
Ask somebody.
Ask somebody. Stop somebody in the street. Hey, what's your name? What? What's our people?
You get the,
Keep brain, sir. Stick with brains. Oh, in the field, right?
Journal of Academy of Sciences.
That sort of thing. You would go to people in the field and you would say, right, what's your newest surgeon? Oh, wonderful, you're a brain surgeon, fantastic. Who is the greatest? And he would canvass opinion amongst various brain surgeons and they would say it was him. Okay, so that's how you'd find out who's the greatest brain surgeon, who's the greatest biologist, who's the greatest physicist, who's the greatest ballet dancer, whatever you want me to ask the ballet dancers. I don't know how that stuff works, it looks a bit weird to me. Afal Pekin, the principle is established. How would you know who's the greatest Navi?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Well, you ask about the Nevi'im. So when Klal Yisrael all become Nevi'im, then automatically they can attest to the fact that he's the real deal. Right? And therefore, sorry, no?
They saw that at Kriyas Yamsuf.
Right. No! And Kriyas Yamsuf, as the Rambam goes on to say, I've stopped it. They said, Zeh Kelik Vat Vehu. But when, I'll read this, I stopped abruptly, but the Ken Hu Oimer B'Ponim B'Ponim Hashem, V'Nemar V'Lo of Sinah Koras Hashem. Okay. U'Menan Shemamad Har Sina Levadoi. And how do you know that Imam Har Sina only? Hoyer Harayel and Nevoas Shahoya Emes in boy doifi. Shenemar in Anachi boy Elecha bo Eva Anon ba Avor Shishma Ham Bedibram in Cho Begam Cho Yamin La'olam. They'll hear me speaking to you and they'll believe in me La'olam. Miklal Shekaidam Dovazeh, including your Chris Yamsov. Lo Hamina boy Nemonos Shehi Omedis La'olam. There was no guarantee that it would last forever. Okay, but this was the clincher. Now think, was it? Was it? Was it the clincher? Go on.
Yeah, the Egel after.
Did the Egel go after? Or how about Micha? So Micha is standing there with a little Avodah Zarah in his pocket, just to hedge his bets. Now that's not such a good raya because, okay, that was before, but once he hears Hashem speaking, then Gavaldik. Then Hashem speaking, that's all very nice, and then I'll not go to this Avodah Zarah, which in fact Percy eventually does anyway, but that wouldn't be such a clincher. What is the clincher here? So, Rabbi Dessa's great Talmud, one of his great Talmudim, this is Chaim Friedlander, I remember at Shir at Rosh Hashanah time, or through the Yom HaNoroim, I brought you this famous story that he says. So this is Sefer Chaim, and it's Chelik Moedim Aleph, and at page Tes. So he says the following thing. Shanina Ba'Ovid says in Aleph Yud Dalet, Hillel says, Im Einani Mili, Kashani La'atzmi Ma'ani, or Im Lo Ashab Emasai. It's not now when. B'Yehardova, what does that mean? So Ben Yoina says, Ima Odom Lo Ya'or Nashay Ma'yelom Misrim. If a person doesn't change himself, the greatest Bali Musar won't make any difference whatsoever. That means to say you cannot prove anything to anybody unless they want to prove it. If they've got an open, remember the Sprach I've got. I can present evidence to open minds. I can't present evidence to open minds. Is that ringing a bell? Do we do that? Again, I can present evidence to open minds. I cannot present evidence to open minds. What am I saying? Depends how I'm using the word open, either as an adjective or as a verb. I can present evidence to open minds, adjective, if the person's got an open mind, with all the evidence in the world. I can't present evidence to open minds, verb. If somebody don't want to listen, Chazal say, even at the gates of Gehenna, Rishayim don't do tshuva. Hello, what's happening in there? Screaming and all that stuff. No. They're not going to listen. They don't want to change. If you don't want to change, nobody's going to change you, so he says. Al Yashav Odom, in brackets, Al Yashav Odom Shashina, he's interjecting in Rabbeinu Yonah. Al Yashav Odom Shashina Benefesh Yobam B'chutz. Don't think that any change is going to come to you from outside, including being absolutely certain that Hashem is there. After all, don't forget what Cain said when he's having his argument with his brother. Leis daim, ve'leis din, ve'leis avada also. There is no heaven, there is no hell, there's no punishment, there is no God. You're a Novi! If you don't want to listen, even at the highest madrigas, you can deny absolutely everything to yourself. Okay. Don't think that change is going to come from outside you. It might be a spark, but blow into flame is going to be up to you. Because the most wonderful shir that you'll ever hear tomorrow night, whatever it is, whoever you're going to hear a shir from, even if it really inspires you, even if it brings you to tears, and that absolute determination, I'm going to change. No, you've got to say, okay, that was great, and now how do I put it into effect? The Muslim's going to do no good to you whatsoever. Because even though it goes into your heart the moment you heard it, even the most incredible Baal Musar in the world, the Diplomatic, whoever it is, the Yitzhara will soon make you forget, and then the most incredible effects that you've ever experienced will be gone. Interesting that it says that afterwards, that if you don't act on it now, then you'll soon forget, including Har Sinai. Listen to this. Rabbi Desta in Chelik Beis and page 33. So how we got for time? Yeah, okay. I don't know if I ever learned this with you. This is, I think, one of the most exciting Rabbi Destas of all. He says the following thing. Yesh l'haisav bir bahor ma'od. So he's in the middle of something, we don't need to go back. Yesh esrusidel tosa, esrusidel il. There are two types of inspiration a person can have. There's inspiration which is generated down here, and inspiration which is given to you from up there. That you get something happens to you in your life, which is so, wow, this is Hashem. That's Isrusa Del El, inspiration from up there, and then there's others that you generate for yourself. Normally it's Isrusa Del Tosa. Normally it's what you do for yourself. You see as it's Rhyme, Moment Har Sinai, that was all Irusa Del El. Klal Yisrael was certainly not the Madriga to deserve it. That's why they said to Moshe Rabbeinu, we don't deserve to come out here. Mitzrayim's full of our idolatry, etc., etc. Fine. So let's see if we can get into the middle of this. So he says, normally the rule is you open for me in your heart a little opening like the eye of a needle, and I'll make it as wide as the to the doors to a palace or something like that. That's the normal rule. So you've got to do your bit, and Hashem's going to do. So Hashem is saying to you, I can present evidence to open minds. Open your mind, open your heart, just a little bit to me, and I'll push it open and get everything in there for you. Fine. But sometimes even without you having opened your heart, as I said, I can present evidence to open minds. I can't present evidence to open verb minds. Sometimes you can, or rather Hashem can. And that was his Mitzrayim. Without you having put in your work, Hashem gives it to you. Like the Geula from Israel. Or if the Mashiach comes, as we are just now. On the Madriga we are just now. In other words, not deserving of it. Which I've already explained, which I'm not going into. And this, there is a very important caveat and rule. The Kavanas Parsha Ksas Malcham, I've already explained this elsewhere in Chelik Aleph 222. After the first, yes, I'm going to explain a little bit more. Esrusin L'Tosa Yesh L'Kiyam. Esrusin L'Tosa, if you've worked to achieve a Madriga, you've made your choices, you've fought with your Yetzirah, you've pushed the boundaries of your Bechira, you've got yourself to a Zicher as opposed to a Sophic. It's not Chatzi. You're a Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa type person. Then that Madriga has a Kiyam, it's got permanence. It will last, unless you throw it away. Says, as long as your effort comes first, then the chokhmah, the gift that you get afterwards, that'll last. Because you deserve it. You worked for it. Okay. Because of what you did, you deserve what comes next. As long as you don't give it away, but if you get it from above, without having put in the work down here, then what is the purpose of that? So listen to what he says here. This is astonishing. What you get from upstairs without you having worked for it. Therefore, what's the purpose of it if it's got no permanence? If it's only the permanence is what you put in, so what's the purpose of Yitzhak Mitzrayim? Or such experiences which are a free gift? Because he says the purpose of it's only to give you a havamina, an illustration of what you could be and what you could see, in order to see if that's going to become you. Are you going to make it really you? So the example you gave before, when they stood at the Yam, what a mere little girlie saw at the Yamsuf was greater than that of Yecheskel ben Buzi. So if I remember rightly, Rav Chaim Shmulevitz says, so why is she called Shifka, a little girl? What do you call Yecheskel ben Buzi? A Novi. So why isn't she a Novi? Because he worked to become Yecheskel ben Buzi. She got it as a free gift. And the rule is, if you're given it as a free gift, it's always taken away afterwards. To see exactly whether you now through your own efforts make it your own thing. Right? So he says, I'll read this bit to you because I think this is very, very exciting. Alpi Hagdomazu, and with that, I've missed out a chunk, but never mind. But Alpi Hagdomazu is by Eres Gam and Hogas Yudu Shala Grozal. From this, we can understand the well known minhag of the Vilna Gaon. He, because of a Gaon Rachem Voloshin, this great Talmud Rachem Voloshin says, Bagdomas al Perish Agrol, the Sefer to Sinissa, and in his introduction to the Gaon Sefer, Shagrol lo Rotza Lekabel Shum Magidim Shanishal Chamina Shemam Legalas Laisidis Atar. The Vilna Gaon refused to accept any Magidim, that means a Malach, who would come from Shemayim to teach him hidden secrets, insights in the Torah. Now, incidentally, Malachim don't pop down to teach you or I a secret because they're bored. You know, they're fed up flying about upstairs in Shemayim. What will I do today? Go tell them a secret in the Torah. A Malach is a Shaliach, and he's sent here from Hashem to teach him secrets in the Torah. Because he only wanted Torah which he'd achieved through his own efforts. Knowing this principle that we've already established, if it's your own efforts, it's got permanence, it will last. If it's a free gift, listen to what he says. Says the Rabbi Dessa never understood this. Because it's not the angel popped down because he was bored, it's because Hashem sent him. How could he refuse this? But the Gra in his humility. He was scared that if he got such a thing, it would be something he'd not generated enough skussim for. He didn't deserve it. And if he didn't deserve it, it's a free gift. And if you're given it as a free gift, then what happens afterwards? The rule is it's taken away from you. And therefore that insight is a free gift from Shemayim. Listen to this. And he was scared of the tests that would come afterwards. Bivadai. If I haven't reached that madriga, if it's a free gift, then they're going to test me on that afterwards, see if I've achieved that. And I'm scared I don't achieve it. It's a circular argument. If I've not achieved it, then I've not achieved it. What's the point of showing me it? I'd rather achieve it on my own. You can be standing at Har Sinai and reach the highest possible madriga when indeed you're a Navi. You're in the madriga of Adam Rishon or Cain, and still say afterwards, Leis Dayan, Leis Din, because the most incredible effects of the most incredible Nisim can be lost. You can give them away. So it's the erosion of time, and Sinai can be eroded as well. So we're talking about how to beat Teva, how to beat this process. We've slipped back into seeing the world as Teva and not realizing there's no distinction between Nes and Teva. But we say, do we not, and Moediva Ani Sechel should call Yomimonu. And Rav Simcha Zissel, Rabbi Dessa's grandfather, said that he said many times in his lifetime when it came to Hanukkah or Purim, when he said, Al Anisim, she also said, B'yomi Mahim Bazman Hazeh. He said, it doesn't mean to say at this time of the year, this time in the calendar, this time, it means Bazman Hazeh. Only section, B'yomi Mahim Bazman Hazeh. It happens in our times. The miracles like that happen in our times as well. There's no difference, as we said, logically, but psychologically. You can slip out of being somebody who achieves it and slip back into somebody who doesn't want to listen. So if it happens every day, and our times as well, what is the cure for Teva? It's to remind yourself that there is ultimately no distinction, and there are nisim that happen to you in your life as well, when Hashem gives you a hint that you're on the right track. But then the danger is that it's going to be taken away, so you have to fight that it's not taken away. So in your lives, in our lives, can you think of any like this? I can. In fact, I can think of many examples of, and it's very hard to think about anything except, a little miracle. And don't forget the Ramban says in the end of Pasha's Boy, that because Hashem doesn't do the big miracles like Yetzias Mitzrayim all the time, the purpose of Yetzias Mitzrayim and the big miracle of Yetzias Mitzrayim was to tell you and point to the small miracles that happen to us all the time in our lives. So when I was in England just a few weeks ago, I was driving with my grandchildren. I saw my grandchildren, was taking them to the Lake District, and I told them the time that their mummy and I said, we're just going to come into a place where Zaidi makes the brocha, she also needs b'mokem hazeh. And I told them the story when their mummy was a little girl of 10. They told this story where we're driving back on the freeway, and we lost control of the car. She was asleep, England, so over that side. I was driving this side, and 70 miles an hour, that's the legal limit in England. In the middle lane, no problem. But it was dark and it was wet. It's called hydroplaning, I think. And so one side of the car is the wheels, one side the two wheels are making contact with the road, and the other making contact with water. And it was this like a giant hand took the car and started, and we smashed and destroyed 120 yards of crash barrier. We know this because the government makes your insurance company pay for the amount of crash barrier. So I got the report: 120 yards, bang, 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 bang. And we came to, in England, there are 3 lanes: slow lane, middle lane, and fast lane. And we came to a halt in the fast lane. That's the fast lane like that, in my big black Volvo. This is at 11 o'clock at night. I was there. My daughter, fortunately, was asleep, so she's woken up from the bang. The car's horn jammed on. I opened the door, got my daughter out. I switched on my cell phone. It was switched off. I phoned the cops. Until it happened, they couldn't hear me because the horn had jammed on. So we moved further away. I think they moved me away about 3 or 4 times. Then he could hear me and said, "Stay there. We'll get somebody to come and get you as soon as we can." Instead, another car came along at 80 miles an hour and went into my car like that, setting my car spinning like these what do you call them? Lawn grass cutter things, when it goes round and round and round, like a helicopter going round. And it was like a scene from a movie, whatever a movie is, and it was chasing after us. But the explosion, something hit me in the right eye. I thought I'd lost the eye. In the eye. A bit of shrapnel from the explosion. And fortunately, I used to wear glasses, the aviator type, which is the exact shape of your eye socket, plastic frame, plastic lens. Ripped my glasses off. But I literally was like this. I had my left hand grabbing my daughter. It was all in an instant, and we're running along the freeway with our car coming like that after us. I came to a halt there. Anyway, afterwards, got a long story short, the police came and got us. And when I got home, etc., my family, my wife at that shop was waiting for me. I came in looking like a raccoon, so it was big black. And I woke up in the middle of the night, I couldn't sleep. I went down, I was typing an email to my good friend Rabbi Gottlieb, and I was telling him this, and suddenly it struck me this was an Eastoni. Why? Because the car's horn jammed on. Why would the car's horn jam on? What's the statistical possibility of the start of it jamming on? Garnished. Nothing. I mean, there must have been one. But if it hadn't jammed on, then I would have been standing next to the car, and I told the police, and then the car would have hit it, and it would have been, well, it wouldn't have been very good. Or my old Rebbe, Rabbi on the Balkan, who taught me the Alshich, when I was a boy, when he was nifter, he became senile at the end, and then he got gangrene in the leg, and they moved him from one hospital to another hospital. And now his son Arya, who was dedicated to his daddy and spent something like 6 weeks beside his daddy's bed the whole time, I went to see him. This is just after this car crash. So I was quite beaten up by the car crash, actually, because there was whiplash and stuff like that. Somebody came to see me, one of my talmidim, and I thought, I haven't seen my old Rebbe, and I knew he was in the hospital. So I found the hospital. It was an old, horrible hospital, which is now closed down. The entrance for the visitor's entrance was locked. Somehow I got into it, and I got lost, no exaggeration, 7 times. Eventually I found the right ward. When I got there, the nurse at the nurse's station said, "Are you looking for us?" I said, "Rabbi Balkan." He said, "If you just go down there and turn left, you'll see him straight away. His bed's right opposite." Turned left, and there he was. 2 nurses and a doctor surrounding him. I could see him lying there, he was unconscious because he was in a coma. And they looked at me and they smiled, and they looked around at him, and then they looked back at me, and their faces had completely changed. And then they drew the curtains around his bed. So I just went there, and Ari wasn't there. Ari had never left his son had never left his bedside for 6 weeks, but he had to go and pay a gas bill. Anyway, I was standing there, so one of the nurses came out and said, "Are you related?" So I said, "Yes," because Rashi says that if somebody teaches you the Torah, he said, "Okay, you better go in, we think he's dying." So I went in, and they left me. They said, "We'll just be waiting outside." They were very nice. And So I took his hand and I said, Rabbi Yoina, we have to say Shema. And his eyes were flickering like crazy. Anyway, so basically I said Shema with him. I had the schus of saying Shema with my old Rebbe. And so then after we finished saying Shema, he gave a big breath and I said, I thought he'd gone, and I said, did it again. He did it 3 times. There was a tiny pulse in a tiny vein just under his eye. I was watching this. That was it. As I said Shema with him, I drew the curtains to tell the nurses, and there was Arya coming back. His son had just gone out. He was out for like 20 minutes. I had to tell him his daddy was nifter. And the family, because I was his most famous talent, his family was so pleased that I was with them. What were the chances? Well, there are so many, and we've run out of time. I could bore you with lots of my stories, like my plane crash. It's good to survive a plane crash. Or when we moved here, I was supposed to move here for a job that was lasting 3 years. It lasted 10 months. I had to pay my mortgage in my house in Manchester, big mortgage, and an appalling rent in a horrible apartment in Brooklyn. And then we lost the job. It was a disaster. We had 2 months' money left, and it wasn't just moving, from Muncie to 5 towns or vice versa, or maybe something really big like Chicago. No, I'd moved continent and given up a job I'd been in for 25 years, and suddenly we're really drowning. And I was at Gateways, and a fella came up to me, somebody I knew, and he said to me, "What are you doing just now?" I tried to hold back the tears, "Well, this and that," I said, casually. Inside going, he said, "Would you be interested in working for my bank?" He owns a bank. And I said, "Maybe." I thought, well, why on earth he wants to employ me? I know nothing about money. I'm scared of money. So he had bought some Israeli technology, and he was trying to get the Israeli technology into the British market, and particularly the Scottish market. But there was a block because they needed a change in legislation. Perfectly kosher, but he needed somebody who was to be a political lobbyist, and he needed somebody who was media friendly, preferably Scottish, could speak, and had connections with the Scottish and British parliaments. Now, seriously, you could not have written a job description that just said, "Why Rubinstein and nobody else on the planet?" than this. And I got this job, and I was a political lobbyist for a year, flying back and forth from London, trying to get politicians to change this legislation, which they didn't do. Anyway, but he just walked up to me with absolutely no money, because of course Hashem made him do that. You've got to remind yourself of these things that happened in your life, as the Ramban says, from the little things, from the big thing. I'm sorry if you say this right. You've got to remind yourself, because you'll forget. You can be standing there, and Teva, which is banished because you've reached the level of a Novi, can come flooding back again, and then you start to see Teva, etc., as being natural, and then you can lose it all. You've got to honestly and consciously think of all these things, maybe not quite as dramatic, that happened in your life, that happens in your life, that's happening in your life, to remind you that Teva has got no real mitzvah. There's no difference between Teva and Lamalamina Teva, except a frequency. That's a logical truth, not a psychological truth. You have to fight against psychology, which is just another way of saying against the Hara, who tries to get you to forget that really there's no difference whatsoever.